One thing that I would like to talk about before we get started today is just a quick little discussion on our Psoas using this rubber band. So we will not be doing any kind of hip openers tonight. In fact, I'm going to give you a lot of variations and things to maybe you can bring into your own practice. One thing that I have learned a lot about my back injuries and my back pain is that hip openers actually just make it worse. And there's a good reason for that. So as a former runner, someone that did a lot of half marathon running, maybe my glutes just were not strong enough, and the body's pretty resilient. So it will make movement happen, and often, especially for runners, what that means is it's gonna start pulling on your psoas and your hip flexors to make up for the lack of glute strength that you may have. And you're like, Elizabeth, didn't you just kind of work out all of the time? Yeah, I totally did work out all of the time, but I just wasn't doing enough to really build the glute strength that I needed. And so what was happening for me, and I'm going to use this rubber band really, to kind of explain some of this, is the psoas, the hip flexors were kind of doing double duty to support the low back and also to create some of that movement that I needed. And so essentially think of it as kind of stretching out the rubber band, putting some tension on that. So we'll say that maybe everything kind of looked a little bit stretched out here. And then as a result of maybe doing some additional hip openers, things like pigeon, what happens when you start to stretch them even more? Well, what it's going to start doing is tugging. That's always going to start tugging on the low back. Okay, and it's going to start to have you pull forward. You're going to start to feel a lot of compression, a lot of pain in the hip, maybe internally. And you can do some psoas release movements to, kind of make that feel better. But what we're going to be working on a lot is building that glute strength, because we need to get to, solving the problem. And so that's what class is going to be all about tonight, is really that glute strength, all right? So that maybe we don't need to have that tugging happening anymore. Maybe we can start to reduce some of the tension on that lower band and on that rubber band, and the glutes can start to do that function that we need in order to help support the rest of the body. Okay? Cool. All right, I don't need this rubber band anymore. Goodbye, rubber band. All right, so if you are ready to join me in the playlist, let's find that and hit play now. Great. All right, let's start lying down today. Go ahead and just let the legs be nice and wide here. Take up some space, let the toes spin out to the sides. Maybe readjust the body here so we can get the back and the shoulders onto the mat. Turning our palms up to the sky. And this is the part of the practice where we're just going to let go of the day, let go of the week. Let those to-do lists wait for another time. Put them aside, and if those thoughts start to come up for you, tell yourself that this is the moment that you need to be present in your practice, that you are here for the yoga, and that we do not want to be distracted by these thoughts, because we are here to work on our mind-body connection. We want to feel the body. We want to recognize any pain that we might be having. We want to learn how to build some strength and flexibility so we can let go of that pain. And in order to do that, we need to be fully present. So all of those little thoughts, those to-do lists, we need to put them aside so that we can be here and build that connection. And as we are lying here on our backs, I want us to maybe start to check in with that lower back. Is it lifting away from the mat, from the floor? It probably is. All of that sitting that we are doing in our lives these days, it's probably causing some strain, some stress on the low back. And so as we start to build that mind-body connection, we want to start to notice if it's lifting away from the floor to see what we could do to correct that. So maybe start to pull your feet together, pulling the ankles and the thighs a little bit closer together, almost like a standing position. I know we're laying down, but we're just trying to pretend that we're standing for just a moment. And I want you to think about maybe seeing if you can find a way to pull the belly button in towards the spine, and as a result, start to close the gap between the low back and the mat. Just engaging that core can really make such a difference in starting to adjust that pelvic tilt. And play around with that for just another moment. And then take your arms reaching overhead for a good morning stretch. Keep pulling that low back down towards the mat as we do this. Reach overhead. And then pull your knees in towards the belly, bending those knees and then taking the arms, wrapping them over the shins, the knees, pulling them down towards the belly, making a nice little yogi ball here. Lift your shoulders, your head away from the mat, pulling the nose towards the knees. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze everything you can into a tight little yogi ball. Lovely, and then cross the ankles here. Taking your hands behind the thighs, we'll start to roll up. Rock back and forth just a few times. Give yourself a nice little massage on that low back. And then eventually come up to a seated position. All right, we're going to take the legs underneath us and find a tabletop position. We want our shoulders over our wrists, our hips over our knees. Let me move these blocks out of the way just to make sure that you guys can see me okay here. And we're going to start to take our heel up towards the sky. So our left knee will be bent at a 90-degree angle as we do this, and that left heel will reach up. Now as we do this, I want you to keep pulling the belly in towards the spine. You can have a tendency to just start to reach. I mentioned the body can be resilient. And so if that left hip is starting to reach up in order to lift the heel up to the sky, we don't want to go there. Instead, pull the belly in. Yeah, and see if you can bring that leg to a 90-degree angle. Perfect. Now drop the left knee to meet the right knee, but don't let it drop to the ground. Hover, and then kick it back up towards the sky. Now that left foot is flexed, right? And bring it back down. We're going to keep doing this. And as you do this, I want you to start thinking about engaging the glutes here, starting to squeeze on your way up and then release on your way down. So it's not about just lifting the leg, but starting to engage the glutes through this. And we'll do this for a couple more. All right. Last one. And keep floating that left knee onto the ground, and then we're going to lift the left knee out towards the left side, coming into a clamshell, or maybe, you know, a dog that needs to pee a little bit. Yeah, I got those dad jokes for you tonight, don't worry. And then connect the left knee to meet the right. Lift it back out to the side, squeeze, and back down. And we'll do this for another 3. Another 2, keep squeezing at the top. And 1. And now you can drop the left knee down to the ground. But we have another side, don't we? So let's take that right heel up towards the sky, 90-degree angle. Make sure that right hip is not lifting too high here. Pull the belly into the spine. And we'll just drop the right knee to meet the left, but let it hover. And lift and squeeze. Down and up and squeeze. And let's keep moving through this for another 8. side into the glutes as you do this. Really think about what is happening in the body here. And I lost count, so I don't know, let's do another 2. And 1. Hover that right knee onto the mat, and we'll take it out towards the side. Lift and squeeze, and drop the knee, hover. Lift it out to the side, squeeze, and hover. We'll do another 3. Another 2. Another 1, you got this. Hold at the top for just a moment, squeeze, 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 and then drop the right knee down to the ground. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna come down to our bellies. So extend the legs long behind you. We're moving to a Sphinx Pose. So as we go through this, see if you can come down onto the forearms, and I would like your elbows to be right underneath the shoulders. Spread your fingertips wide, pressing them firmly into the mat. Press the tops of the feet also firmly into the mat. And see if you can start to engage the glutes here. Yeah, right? And then start to lift the chest, opening up right behind the heart. Getting a nice heart opener as we start this class. And I should probably tell you guys, we're going to be working on bridge and wheel in our class today. So we really want to take a little bit of time in this Sphinx Pose just to really open up in this back bend. All right. Now we're going to cross our arms out in front of us like a pillow. And you can drop your head down onto the arms. And I want you to take this left leg and just float it away from the mat. Just a few inches. And from here, I want you to squeeze that left glute with everything you've got to see if you can lift the leg a little bit higher and drop. We're going to do this for 10, 9, and I really want you to use the glute to do this movement, okay? I know you can just lift the leg away from the floor, right? But we're working on those glutes today. I lost count, so I don't know, let's do another 3. Squeeze, 2, 1, and drop the left leg. And let's try this on the other side. Bring the right leg up, let it float away from the ground. And we're going to squeeze that right glute, squeeze, 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 lift, lift, lift. And let's do this for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, oh my goodness, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right, new move here tonight, guys. I have something fun planned for you. Go ahead, take those arms, extend them out in front of you towards the top of the mat. All right, and then bring your hands to a prayer. So we're gonna press the palms together, thumbs up towards the sky. Now from here, I want you to lift the chest, the head, and the arms away from the mat. Yep, good job. Look maybe down at the mat just to protect your neck here. And then you're gonna lift the feet, the knees, and the thighs away from the mat. So we're on our bellies, right? And your legs can move out to a wide position. So, just find some space between the ankles, between the feet. And from here, we're going to move into a jumping jack, kind of a stance. So pull the feet and the ankles together and bring the arms out to a big Y. Yes. And let's move through that a little bit faster. So bring the hands together, legs apart. And switch. For another 8, keep switching. 7, you got this. Think about squeezing those glutes. 6, 5, what is happening? I know you've got this. Come on. 4, another 3, another 2, 1 more. Hold, 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 and relax. Oh my goodness, I am so proud of you. Okay. From here, we'll take the arms behind us. We're still on our bellies, and we're going to interlace our fingers, drawing the thumbs down the low back towards the glutes, and starting to lift the head, the chest away from the mat. Now lift the feet away from the mat. See if you can get the legs to hover, the knees come off, the thighs start to lift away. We don't want to look up towards the sky here. We just want to look slightly forward. And bring it on down. Release. Lovely, good job. All right. I think we're ready to flow a little bit. So from here, let's go ahead and find our first down dog. So hands under shoulders, tuck the toes, lift the knees, the hips away from the mat. And let your heart melt down towards the ground. Find some movement here, whatever you need, maybe walking out that dog. And we'll move into a twisted dog from here. So what does that look like? Maybe you start to walk the feet, about 6 inches forward, shortening your stance. And then you're gonna take your right hand and reach for your left ankle underneath the body. So we're weaving the arm underneath and then through. Start to maybe pull the chest through a little bit, looking up underneath the left armpit up towards the sky. And shift the weight a little bit more into that right foot. Yeah, I can't see you at home, but I kind of knew that you needed that cue somehow. All right, bring the right hand back forward. And let's do this on the other side. Bringing the left arm under the body and then reaching for that right ankle. Turning your gaze underneath the right armpit and then up towards the sky, shifting the weight into that left foot a little bit more, keeping everything as nice as even as possible. And then release, left hand will meet the right. Go ahead, find that stretch a little bit more through the lower back by lifting the hips up towards the sky in this shorten down dog position, and then start to walk the hands towards the toes, coming into a forward fold. Ragdoll here, maybe grabbing for opposite elbows. Let that lower back release as we straighten through the legs. Maybe some figure 8s with the elbows. All right. Inhale, I want you to start to roll up one vertebrae at a time, coming to a standing position. No rush here. Do what's going to work well for you. Good. And then find a chair position. So in our chair, you have a couple options here. I'm okay if you want to have your feet out, hips width distance apart, or if you want to bring the feet together. I mean, in this pose, it doesn't really matter as much for me, especially if you're having low back pain. Figure out what's going to work best for you. And I want you to sit a little bit lower, shifting that weight into the heels. And a little bit lower. Stick that bottom out. I know you can get there. And then drop those shoulders. Yep, we're going to hold this for 3, for 2, for 1, and I want you to pulse. Up and down. For 5, for 4, for 3, for 2. Keep sticking that butt out for 1. And come up to standing. All right, right arm's gonna go back, left arm's gonna go forward, but the hips are gonna stay parallel towards the top of the mat. Twist. Right arm is gonna swing down, reaching for the sky, both arms, reach overhead. And we'll switch it out to the other side. Left arm back, right arm forward. Watch those hips. Sweeping the left arm down. Reach for the sky, both arms. And find a big cactus arm here as we exhale. Let it all go. Inhale, arms up. Now from here, go ahead, interlace the fingers. And I want you to bring these fingers, these hands down towards the left thigh. Bending that left knee. Now we're going to stick this right leg out in front of us. Toes are pointed up to the sky, foot is flexed. And then maybe sit back and a little bit lower. Holding for 3, for 2, for 1. All right. Come back up to a standing position, arms overhead, right foot meets the left, and we'll try this on the other side. Interlacing the fingers, we'll bring the hands down over towards the right thigh as we bend the right knee. And we take the left leg out in front of us. Sit back a little bit more. Stick the behind out a little bit more. I know, behind, but what am I allowed to say as a yoga teacher? All right, and let's come back up to a standing position, hands overhead, left foot meets the right. Give me one more big line by bending through those elbows, let it go. And then bring your hands down to heart center, prayer. All right, this part's gonna be super fun. I want you to put all of your attention into your glutes. And I want you to squeeze them as hard as you can. And we're gonna hold this for 5. Keep squeezing, just standing here for 4. Pull the belly in towards the spine. For 3, keep squeezing, 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 squeezing. For 2, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And 1, yes, oh, I know, you've got this. And release. Okay, let's find a forward fold. Another ragdoll for just a second. Release the neck here. And then walk the hands forward towards the top of the mat, finding a plank position. If you want to drop your knees down to the ground, go for it. Your choice here. And I just want you to rock back and forth. A couple more. And then come down to your elbows, finding a forearm plank. Again, if you want to bring your knees down to the ground, that's totally cool. It's your practice. Make it your own. If you're up here in this position, I really want you to think about seeing if you can get your heels over your toes, engaging the belly, pulling the belly up, 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 and think about your glutes for a second. What are they doing? Are they talking to you? Are they engaged? Are they part of this pose? Could you make them part of this pose? And we'll hold for another 3, I know. For another 2. For another 1. Awesome. And come down to your belly. Find that Sphinx Pose one more time. So we're still on the elbows. Tops of the feet are pressing down into the ground. We're opening up behind the heart. Yes, good job. All right, take the left hand underneath the left shoulder. Take the right arm underneath the right shoulder, and I want you to find a child's pose. Extend through the arms, nice big stretch here. And I'm checking in with the chat just to see if anyone has any questions, if any of you have any concerns. Feel free to reach out over that chat at any point. All right. From here, come back up to that tabletop position, cross the ankles, sit back, find a nice seated position. Now, if you have those blocks available, totally cool, or if you have a pillow, you can do this too. Anything that you can find just to kind of help you find a little bit more lift through the hips will work. Even just a rolled up blanket, or if you need to roll up your yoga mat right now to make this happen, all of those options are available too. I'm going to show you how to do this with the block though. So we're going to take our feet apart, hips width distance, and we're going to roll back and find a bridge pose. Lifting our hips up towards the sky as we press into the heels. And we're just going to take this block and we're going to put it underneath our hips. All right, perfect. From here, we're just going to take the right knee, go ahead, bend it, and start to pull it in towards the chest. You can take your hands, interlace the fingers, take them over the knee, pull the right knee in, give it a nice little squeeze. Then extend the left leg long and drop the heel down to the ground. So we're going to get a nice big stretch through the left hip here, through that psoas, hopefully. And one thing I would like you to check in with is your toes, okay? So if you are kind of just relaxing here with your toes spinning out to the side like so, I actually want you to pull the toes back towards the midline. Maybe point those toes to really engage the left leg as we go through this, and you should get a much deeper stretch. Keep pulling that right knee in towards the body. Nice. Hold for another 2 breaths. And we'll switch this out by extending the right leg down towards the mat. Heel can touch the ground, and we'll pull the left knee in towards the belly. Interlacing the fingers and having them wrap around the knee for a little bit more engagement. And then again, don't forget to check on those toes on this right foot. Are they spinning out to the side, or are we engaging that leg by pointing the toes and pulling them towards the midline just a little bit more so we have a nice straight leg. Big breaths here. Tell your body it's okay to release through this. Tell your body that you have this moment to just let go. Tell the psoas it doesn't have to support anything right now. It doesn't have to do all of that extra work that it has been doing to help you out. Just let it go. All right. We'll extend the left leg long down towards the mat, and then find that bridge pose again by walking the feet towards the glutes. Lift the hips away from the mat, move the block off to the side. And we are going to go into some elephant trunk abs. What, never heard of those? Cool, let's try something new tonight. Extend the left leg long. All right, point those left toes, and then we're going to take this right leg up to a 90-degree angle, almost like an elephant trunk. Okay, cool. From here, I want you to start to lift the shoulders, the head, everything away from the mat, all right? Take your right hand and start to press it in towards the right thigh, creating some tension here. This left hand is going to press on towards the left thigh. All right, and from here, I want you to think about pulling the belly towards the spine and driving the low back as much as you can into the mat. Now, we're not lifting the left leg away from the ground. It can stay connected because I want so much tension happening from pressing this left hand into the left thigh and the right hand into the right thigh as we lift up and pull down through the belly. And we'll hold this for another 5, another 4, another 3, 2, 1, and relax the shoulders, drop the head, drop the right leg, extend it long. I know, isn't that interesting? Isn't it fun? That's a really good way to get in some core work without putting some additional strain onto the hip flexors to the psoas. Because most of our core movements, even if we try really hard just to use the core, often we end up still engaging those, okay? So let's try this on the other side. So we'll take the left leg up to a 90-degree angle, point the toes, right leg nice and long, point the toes, make sure they're not spinning out to the side in this one either. All right, left hand's gonna press into the left thigh. Right hand is going to press into the top of the right thigh. We're gonna lift the shoulders away from the mat, lift the head, pull the belly in, drop the low back into the mat. Press, press, press through those hands for 5. Keep lifting the shoulders away from the mat for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and drop everything down to the ground. Oh, I'm so proud of you guys. Now pull the knees in towards the chest, and I want you to drop them over to the left side, getting a nice little stretch here as we extend the right arm out towards the right side, opening up into a twist. Pull the knees back to center. We're not here too long, just a nice little twist after doing some of that core work, and we'll drop the right knees over to the right side. Left arm extends long. Awesome. All right. Pull the knees back to center. We'll cross the ankles. We'll rock up and down. We've been here a few times, right? And then come back to a seated position. All right, next from here, we are going to start to do Oh, I think we have a fun thing for us to work on. So we're going to add on to what we did from last week. Why don't you come up to a standing position? I know fancy yoga transition, Elizabeth, but just come up to standing and face the side of your mat. From here, take the feet out to a wide stance. And I want you to pull the heels in as the toes come up to the sides. We'll bend through the knees, find a goddess position. Sit a little bit deeper. And a little bit deeper. And I want you to pulse. For 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Now we're going to take this left knee and we are going to pull it towards the center as we spin up onto those back toes. We have a 90-degree angle happening between our right knee and our left knee, okay? Now this is not a yoga pose, I know that. This would be, this is not, but we're going to do this anyway. Hands are going to reach up overhead, okay? And from here, I want you to place the right hand onto the right hip, and then start to reach the left hand over towards the right side, finding a bend. Nice side stretch happening on the left side of the body, also getting into the psoas here. Reach, 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 reach for another 3, another 2, another 1. Hands are going to reach up overhead. Now to add on to this from last week, I want you to step the left foot to meet the right, but don't get too comfortable. Yeah, bring your hands to heart center, to prayer. And then step that left leg back out to a lunge. Okay, we're going to do this a little bit faster, so step it forward and back. Forward and back. Forward and back. Forward and back. Give me 3 more. 2 more, 1 more, and then find a chair pose. Left foot meets the right, hands up overhead. Oh my goodness, what just happened? Hold this chair for 3, for 2, for 1, and then take this left leg up to a standing position, a one-legged Tadasana. All right, 90-degree angle in that leg. And then take the left leg, sweep it behind you, finding a warrior 3. All right. Squeeze that left glute. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And I want you to find little pulses. And we're not going through leg lifts here, okay? We're squeezing the glutes to lift the leg. For 3, for 2, for 1. I know, drop the left leg behind you, find that lunge, open up to the side of the mat. Give me a big star, hands up overhead. And then heels pull in, knees are bent, come down, goddess. Wow. All right, we have those pulses again. So let's pulse for 8, for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold at the bottom. Take this right knee, spin it in as we come onto those back toes. 90-degree angles in both legs. Adjust if you need to. Good. Hands reach up overhead. And this time we're going to find that stretch in the right side. So I want you to take the right hand high, left hand to hip, and then reach over towards the left side of the body, finding that deep stretch on the right side. Lovely. Reach, reach, reach for 3, for 2, for 1. Come back to center, hands overhead. Step the right foot to meet the left, finding that chair pose, but don't get too comfy like we just talked about, right? All right, I want you to step the right foot back and forward. And let's go through that a little bit faster. For 8, 7, 6, 5, keep pressing down through that left heel. 3, 2, 1, step it forward, hold in that chair pose, right? Oh my goodness, Elizabeth, what is happening? Now come up to a standing and bring that right leg with you for a one-legged Tadasana, hands overhead. Hold, 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 pull the belly in, and then I want you to kick the right leg behind you, Finding a warrior three. And we've been here before, right? I want you to squeeze the glute and find little lifts. For another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step that right foot back into a lunge. And open up to the side of the mat. Star. Woo, that was a lot of work, right? Cool. All right. Come down to one more goddess for me. Bending through those knees. Hold, hold, hold. Back up to standing. And reach forward. Forward fold. We're in a wide-legged stance here. Maybe just ragdoll for just a moment. Stretching through the back of the legs. And then walk your hands towards the top of the mat. Point the toes, let them follow you. Step the right foot back to meet the left. Drop the knees. Child's pose. Big breaths. Reconnect with the body a little bit. I know we are doing some hard work tonight, believe me. I know. And we're not quite done yet. What? Really? No, not quite. All right. We've got one more flow before we start to play with our peak pose. So why don't you turn your gaze back up towards your hands, find a quick little tabletop, and then tuck the toes, lift the knees, find a down dog. Right leg will reach for the sky, a three-legged dog, looking up at your hands. Go ahead, bend the knee, and then plant that right foot next to your right thumb. Opening up into a lunge. Press into that right foot, sweep the arms back behind you. Lifting up, pulling the belly in. And then reach hands overhead, find a crescent pose. Lovely. All right, drop the left knee down to the ground and untuck the toes, okay? Untitled. And as we do this, I want you to see if you can pull the hands, draw them back towards the back of the mat, open up through the chest a little bit more. Maybe turn your gaze up towards the hands. You can also bring your hands to prayer and see if that helps you get a little bit more. And just keep pulling the chest and the head through the arms, and the arms keep driving back. Awesome. Okay, bring your hands back forward and then down to the mat. Now, for this next move, you can go ahead and keep your fingertips here on the mat, or if you have blocks, let me show you what that looks like. Hello, blocks. Okay, so have your blocks on either side of the right foot. And what we're going to do is press into the top of this left foot and lift the knee away from the mat. Yeah. Draw the chest forward, look forward. Deep breaths. And then drop the left knee down to the ground. Good job. All right. You can move those blocks off to the side, have them nearby for the other side. Let's tuck the left toes, lift the left knee away from the mat. So here we are in a runner's lunge. And then sweep the right foot to meet the left. Plank to chaturanga, bending through the elbows. Come on down, rise up to your up dog or your cobra, your choice. And then tuck the toes down dog. And we will try that on the other side. Left leg will reach up towards the sky, three-legged dog, toes are pointed down towards the mat. And then exhale, step it through, bring that left foot towards the left thumb. Runner's lunge. Sweep the hands back towards the thighs, pull up through the belly, press firmly through the left heel, through the left toes. And then big inhale, hands come up overhead, crescent lunge. Hold, hold, hold. And then drop the right knee down to the ground, untuck the back toes, Untitled. Now I want you to take the hands together into that prayer, or just drive the hands back towards the back of the mat, pulling the chest through, the hands through. Again, this is your choice. See what works best for you. Deep breaths. And then bring the hands forward and down to the mat. Again, you can pull the blocks in for a little bit more support here, framing the left foot. Or you can just come up higher on the fingertips, whatever you can make work for this practice. We'll lift that right knee away from the ground, pressing firmly into the right foot, the top of the right foot. Drawing the chest forward, looking forward, and keep breathing through this for 3, for 2, for 1. Drop the right knee down to the ground. Ooh. And move the blocks out of the way. All right, tuck the right toes, lift the right knee away from the ground. We're doing a quick little runner's lunge. And then we'll step the left foot to meet the right. Chaturanga, rise up dog. And press it back, down dog. All right, drop the knees down to the ground. And you can give yourself a little bit of break, because now we're going to talk about our peak pose. So I'm going to give you guys options for both bridge and for wheel. You can do whatever works for your practice. There are no expectations here. Just try something new tonight, see what works well for you. I will say that for wheel, it took me a few years to get there, and I kept telling myself it's never going to happen. Why do I keep trying? But one day it happened, okay? So also I want you to believe in yourself a little bit as we go through this. It might not happen today. It might not happen tomorrow, but it could happen. And believe in yourself for that, okay? Just give it a try. Okay, so first things first, if you have a block, we're gonna have that as part of our bridge pose for tonight. If you don't, again, you can just like use a pillow or nothing. It's, make it yours. Okay, use what you got. So in our bridge pose, we'll roll all the way down to our backs. We'll have our feet hips width distance apart. And one of the most important things that we need to do when we work on our bridge pose is to learn how to not let the knees roll out towards the side, okay? There's a lot of people that go into a bridge and it looks like this, okay? We actually want to draw the knees back to center. So how can we learn how to do that and build up strength in case we want to move into some more deeper back bends like wheel? Blocks. Are you surprised that I'm telling you that you should use blocks? I think I do this every Thursday, right? I tell you to invest in blocks. Okay, take the block, pull it between those knees of yours, between the thighs, and then start to lift the hips up away from the mat and squeeze that block. Keep lifting up, okay? Your hands can just press firmly into the ground, palms down here if you would like, or you can interlace the fingers. Pinkies are down towards the mat. Maybe you tuck the shoulders a little bit under the body and see if you can get a little bit more height by squeezing that block and lifting the hips away from the ground. See if you can create some more space between the chin and the chest as you do this. Keep squeezing for 3, for 2, for 1, and then bring it down towards the mat. Release. We're going to go up again, and I want to give you guys something to try out. So, to squeeze or not to squeeze, okay? So we were squeezing our knees together, but what do you do with your glutes? Well, in most traditional yoga poses, or at least most teachers will tell you that you should just go ahead and relax the glutes, whether it be in camel, whether it be in bridge, whether it be in wheel. But there's like a whole new school of thought, because a lot of these poses were created before we were in positions where we were sitting all day at desks, okay? And so squeezing the glutes in some of these back bends actually might be something that you want to try, okay? Because it can provide you with a little bit more stability, and it might help you from some, from compression issues. Okay, so give it a try tonight and see what happens, okay? So let's go into bridge one more time. I'm gonna put my block here between my thighs. I'm gonna lift my hips away from the ground, squeeze my knees together. I'm going to take those hands underneath my body, interlace them, tuck my shoulders, lift, lift, lift a little bit more. And now see what happens when you squeeze the glutes. Okay? Give it a try. What feels good? Maybe it doesn't feel good. You know, really it's kind of up to you in your practice. And release it down to the mat. Move the block off to the side for just a moment. All right, so if we want to talk about wheel now, I think we need both blocks. I will show you one way to start working on that before we go into the full pose. And if you want to keep working on bridge, go for that. If you want to maybe try working on camel time, go for that. If you want to go into happy baby, that's cool too. Okay, so if you're interested in wheel, I'm going to use this wall. Hopefully this works. I should have thought this one through. Take your blocks to a diagonal with a little bit of space between them, okay? Press into them just to make sure that they're super safe. Okay, and then come onto your back. So, one thing, you might have to obviously try this after class if you don't have a wall nearby. But one thing that you can do with these blocks as at a diagonal is to help them open up a little bit more through the shoulders and learn how to straighten the arms, okay? So I'm going to take my hands, press them into the blocks, then lift my hips away from the ground, and then as I press a little bit more firmly, I can lift up, straighten my arms, and pull my chest through. I'm going to tuck my chin to come out of it, and roll onto my back, okay? So these blocks against the wall can kind of help you get some support as you're learning how to straighten the arms and pull the chest through, okay? Now, if we want to talk about how to do this without the blocks, let's give that a try. Again, no expectations. Please don't do anything that hurts, all right? It all comes with time, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay too, okay? All right, so if we're interested in moving into wheel on the floor, we're going to point our fingertips towards our shoulders, okay? Some yoga teachers will say pull your elbows in real close. Others will say it's okay if you have a little bit of space between them. You know, honestly, I feel like you just kind of have to figure this out and see what's going to work best for you. But press firmly into the fingertips, into the knuckles as you do this. And then start to press into the feet, lifting the hips away from the ground. And then start to lift the shoulders up, up, up. And then through, straightening through the arms, lifting the hips a little bit more higher. And then you have the choice. Do I squeeze the glutes or do I not? So if you're feeling compression in the back without squeezing, squeeze them. And if you're having compression from squeezing, stop. It's that simple, okay? All right, why don't you guys give it another try? You have plenty of time. Again, you can work on that bridge. You can start to see if you can find a wall nearby with your blocks and see if you can just work on opening up the chest a little bit. Or you can try it on the floor. All of those options are available to you. Or just, you know, find a happy baby or whatever else you want to do tonight. I'm going to go up into wheel one more time. So fingertips towards shoulders. Press firmly into the fingers, into the knuckles. Lift hips away from the ground, and lift up. Straighten the arms as much as you can. Pull the chest through. Maybe start to walk the feet a little bit towards the top of the mat. And pull the chin into the chest to come out of it. Roll on down. All right, don't let this frustrate you. It doesn't have to be perfect. Any of it, whether it's bridge, wheel, camel, any of those back bends. whatever you're able to accomplish tonight, it's your practice and I'm proud of you. Okay. All right, so I have something fun for us to kind of finish out our practice with tonight. It's a variation of a pigeon pose. So as I mentioned earlier, some of these hip openers can be a lot, especially if we have an injury or we're trying to let things recover in this area or having just a lot of pain in the back. So pigeon pose, maybe not the best option. So let me show you this variation that you can introduce into your practice as an alternative. So what we can start to do is take the leg behind us like we're going into a half hero pose, okay? So I often have to just kind of pull the flesh of my calf out of the way to kind of get into this. Yeah, cool. And I'm going to take this right leg behind me and extend it. Now, you can stay here with the hands just on the floor, starting to walk them back, seeing if you can get a little bit taller. And of course, so I just love using blocks, you can also just frame the body with them to help you build a little bit more height. Blocks are such magic. Okay, so I'm gonna have my shoulders as much as I can over my hips in this pose. And I'm just gonna hold this. And the nice thing about this variation is I'm definitely getting a stretch on the right side, but I'm not really causing any pain or damage through this left hip. And you might be asking me, well, Elizabeth, like the hip opening poses feel really good. Well, yeah, they do, and they do for me too. But like we talked about earlier, if we're stretching on that rubber band a little bit more, it's probably starting to tug on that low back. All right, and so that's why it's important for you to learn how to do these variations and make choices that are going to work best for you in your practice. So this variation is always available to you, no matter whose class you're taking, whether it's online or live. Just remember that this is an option, okay? Let's switch it out to the other side. So just pull the right knee in. So we'll come up high on the toes, pull the knee away from the ground, and then step the right knee forward. And we'll start to do that half hero pose on the other side. So pulling the flesh of the calf off to the side, setting up, and then extending the left leg long behind you. Again, I'm going to use my block friends to get into this pose. So continuing our discussion on hip openers, I guess another thing that I will say is that they feel really, really good in the moment and probably right after class. And I have nothing against hip openers, believe me. I love Pigeon Pose, I love all of these things. But what I've also kind of learned is that sometimes I have a lot of pain the next day because I pulled on that rubber band a little bit too hard. Sure, I have super open hips, and I can get into them quite easily, and they feel good in the moment, but they don't feel good in the long run, okay? And so by not doing hip openers in these practices the last couple Thursdays, I'm actually having a lot more pain relief, believe it or not. So the glute strengthening moves and removing the hip opening from my practice, huge difference, okay? Again, that's just my thing. That's just helping me a lot. That's something that I've been working with my doctors on. It's not for everybody. My problems are not your problems. But just hoping to share something with you, something maybe you can learn in case you do get injured like this in the future, or you just want to try to maybe add a different variation into your practice. All right, let's tuck the left toes, pull the left knee away from the ground, and just step the left knee forward to meet the right. Nice. I'm going to move my blocks out of the way. And let's find a nice seated position. Now you can go into a hero's pose from here. I'm going to show you a nice little twist variation. Again, your choice. Left side pulling the flesh out of the way. Left knee is bent. And I can just have the right leg here out in front of me, maybe starting to take the right ankle up onto the left knee, or I can go into a half lotus position. Now, one thing from this is I don't get any hip pain from this. I'm not really getting much of a stretch through my hips through this. If you want to add on to this from here, you can take the right arm behind the body and wrap it to see if maybe you can grab for that right toe, and if you can't, that's okay, don't worry about it. The left arm will connect with the right knee, and you're just going to start to look over that right shoulder. And we'll release, come back to center, switch it out on the other side, unwind, and find that half hero pose on the other side. Move the flesh of the calf out of the way. Again, you can just stay here. Maybe take the right ankle on top of that right, or left ankle on top of the right knee, or maybe go for that half lotus. Left arm can wrap behind the body. Maybe we're just here. Maybe we're able to reach for that toe. Right hand comes over towards the right, or the left knee. And turn your gaze over the left shoulder. So many lefts and rights. Couple more breaths. And then release. Coming back to center. Unwind the legs. Extend them nice and long in front of you. Roll all the way down to the mat. Pulling the knees into the belly for just a moment. Give them a nice little hug, a nice little squeeze. Yeah. All right. And let's drop the left knee, or both knees over to the left side. We'll go into that twist again. Right arm will extend long. Turn your gaze towards the right hand. Roll back to center. Drop the knees to the other side. Left arm will extend long. And then bringing the knees back to center. Give yourself another hug, and if at this point you have any other twists or turns that you want to get in, whether it's a shoulder stand or anything else, great time to make that happen. Otherwise, why don't you squeeze yourself into that tight little yogi ball one more time, lifting the shoulders away from the mat, just like at the beginning of class, but see if you can squeeze just a little bit more. A little bit tighter, a little bit smaller. And then extend the legs nice and long on the mat. Take up as much space as you can. Turn the palms up to the sky. And we are here in our final pose of the night, Shavasana. Closing the eyes. And just let go of any more tension that you may have in the body. Let the legs be heavy. Let the hips melt into the mat. Thank the low back for all it does to support you. And start to release, let go of any pain you might be carrying around in that back. Relax the shoulders. And start to slow down the breath. Now this is the part of the practice where we let go of the movement. Where we let go of the last hour, anything that may have frustrated us. anything that may have inspired us. This is the part where we come into stillness. This is the part where we let go of any final thoughts that may be trying to interrupt our practice. And we become fully present. And that can be hard, I know. Whether it's kids running around at home, dogs, cats, our partners waiting on us to make dinner, to finish the laundry, to do all of the things that are waiting for us. Let it go. Come into this moment and tell yourself that you're going to give yourself a few minutes just to relax and be. This is the part of the practice where I'm going to stop talking. Let you enjoy this moment. You can pause this video and stay as long as you would like here. And just start to really melt into the mat. Again, stay here as long as you like. When you're ready, you can roll over to the right side, to the left side, finding a fetal position. And then rolling up to a seated position. It was my pleasure to lead you through your practice today. Namaste. If you have any questions about what we worked on tonight, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, on Facebook. I would love to hear from you and talk through what we worked on tonight, or if there's anything that I can do to help you with your practice.